you see this insane footage over the weekend? It's an attack on a Hindu temple in Canada. I think it's Khalistani Sikh militants who are physically attacking the Hindu temple. I think that's what this is.
Who gonna let that? Indian government. 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 Who's the terrorist? Indian government. Who gonna let that? Indian government. Who's the terrorist? Indian government. Who gonna let that? Indian government. Who's the terrorist? Indian government. Who gonna let that? Indian government. Who's the terrorist? Indian government. Who gonna let that? Indian government. Who gonna let that? Indian government. Who's the terrorist?
Oh shit, ouch, ouch, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit.
That's nuts. I can't even believe that. In my view, any foreign national who engages in violence in Canada, especially political violence, which I think can be properly defined as terrorism, I think they should be immediately deported. By the way, it gets even crazier. One of the alleged rioters is reportedly an off-duty cop who has since been suspended. But it wasn't just in Ontario. Here it is in British Columbia, too.
They need to leave. They have no business to be here. Guys, listen. They got no business to be here. Yeah, Sikh brothers are here.
That's crazy, but no crazier than the other foreign threats we see on a weekly or even daily basis in Canada. I saw this just astonishing. I mean, the new normal is this guy dressed up as a terrorist just standing there at the new TMU, Toronto Metropolitan University. That's what they call Ryerson University now. No problem, just completely normal. I mean, why not? By the way, that was Roman Baber, the conservative political candidate, tweeting that. I think he might be the justice minister if he wins. Hopefully we'll get some real justice. But this goes on every single weekend. I mean, terrorist supporters in our city, my city of Toronto, go right into the heart of Jewish communities, flying swastikas, flying flags of banned terrorist groups, calling for a genocide. No problem. The police are their escorts. There's a lawlessness in Canada now, and I've just been talking to you about political and ethnic lawlessness, but then there's just the plain old regular crime wave. We've talked before about the massive vehicle theft in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, but here's a recent story. Robberies are up 70% in the past year in Calgary. Don't think that is unrelated to mass unvetted migration from low trust societies, by the way. Really check any top 10 most wanted criminals list. Here's the Toronto Police website for their list of most wanted criminals. Basically, Trudeau's New Canadians all the way down. We have brought in the world's losers into our high trust society. They can't believe how stupid we are, and we keep doing it. Anyways, lots of problems. And I haven't even mentioned nonviolent political infiltration, like what China is doing, the 11 parliamentarians they've corrupted, and perhaps India too, and certainly Iran, which has 700 agents operating in Canada. So with all that in mind, look at this story in the CBC, naturally. RCMP plans to go undercover online to trap violent extremists. Internal document says Mounties will use fake online profiles to pursue extremist activity. Oh, that sounds good. I mean, like Hamas activists, or maybe like some of that people in the Sikh versus Hindu fight. Yeah, no. Look at the very first photo here, and you'll see what this really is about. Members of the Proud Boys shouted a group of counter-protesters at Nathan Phillips Square in Toronto on October 21st, 2017. Got it. So 7 years ago, a frat boy shouted something. Nothing about terrorism, nothing about the shooting of Jewish schools. This is happening every few months now. Nothing about arson against Jewish schools and synagogues. None of that. I searched this story carefully. The word Muslim or Islam does not appear once in the story. Neither do the words Sikh or Hindu or Iran. None of that. So who are they left to talk about? We are in the worst violence in memory, but they know who the real enemy is. Let me quote. The RCMP is planning to conduct undercover surveillance online using fake personas to investigate ideological extremists in Canada, says an internal strategy document. Experts in ideologically motivated violent extremism, IMVE, in Canada say the strategy is overdue at a time when online extremism threatens to spill over into real-world violence. They warn that extremist activity in Canada could increase in the wake of the U.S. election, regardless of who becomes the next president. What extremist activity do they mean? Well, they'll tell you. The term IMVE can cover anything from white supremacists and neo-Nazis to far-left environmental and animal rights organizations. Really? Is the RCMP with these riots and the anti-Semitic crime wave and these Hamas encampments, are they really worried about animal rights organizations or Stephen Guilbeault's Greenpeace? I don't think so, but that's what the CBC wants us to focus on. They're of course talking about conservatives, probably talking about truckers. I'm serious. Here they quote Canada's leading conspiracy theorist, Dr. Barbara Perry, who has claimed that there are 300 right-wing extremist groups in Canada, although she refuses to name them. I laugh at anyone who would take her seriously, but of course the CBC does. Barbara Perry, director of the Centre on Hate, Bias and Extremism at Ontario Tech University, said the strategy is overdue, and most Western countries are far ahead of Canada in countering IMVE threats. She said there has been an atomization of the movement, with those attracted to ideological extremism now less likely to join defined groups than they were in the past, making them harder for law enforcement to monitor. They're being exposed to these narratives: xenophobia, homophobic, transphobic, anti-feminist, anti-women, you have it, said Perry. They're being exposed to them online, offline, and they're adopting some of those pieces as a way to make sense of what they're seeing and how they're understanding the world without necessarily affiliating with a particular group, without joining or naming any particular group. Okay, so if you're just an individual person who is against feminism, you should now be on a special RCMP watch list? If you're anti-trans, that's the majority of people, by the way. I'll keep reading. Perry said Donald Trump's election as U.S. president in 2016 led to a surge in right-wing extremism, while Barack Obama's election in 2008 resulted in, quote, a dramatic growth in white supremacist groups, unquote. Really? In Canada? I'm attentive to that because white supremacist, anti-Semitic groups, they generally don't like people like me. I haven't seen that, and I was here. Have you seen that or heard that? I mean, there is anti-Semitism in Canada now. It's actually off the hook, but it's from this coalition of Islamist immigrants and woke leftists, usually from university. I haven't seen any anti-Semitism from the right in Canada, and I hang out on the right, other than by one or two obvious feds and narcs, agents provocateurs, like those Diagolon kooks, but they're so obviously fake feds. We are in a sea of actual hatred and violence, an anti-Semitic crime wave and a regular crime wave. What we saw yesterday appeared to be anti-Hindu violence too, and the RCMP and the CBC and the official anti-hate activists want to go after frat boys who don't like feminism.